In Gresham. Well, you know, the clock is running. It's back to school very soon. And one way to kind of prime the pump with your kids for learning again is maybe take them on a little bit of a field trip. Why not the Ice House Museum in Silsbee on Ernest Street? I think you'll be glad you did because it's all about local history. Susan Kilcrease with us this morning to talk a little bit more about that. And you have some really cool exhibits, Susan, that really take us back to the origins for Southeast Texans.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm standing in front of right now the purpose of why this building, why it's called the Ice House Museum. We're not a museum about ice, although that'd be pretty cool, but we are a museum that is housed in an old ice plant that made 3 tons of ice every 3 days and was shipped out on rail. But this wagon in front of you is a 1902 Studebaker that we've converted into an ice wagon, because once they made the ice in this building, it would be hauled by horse and wagon to the houses. So you can see that we've got the tools on there for the picking up the ice, the hooks. But 100 years ago, this is how they refrigerated things. So what would happen is that, yes, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, well, I love the fact that because, you know, we may call it an ice plant, but people who lived in the city, you called it the ice house because that's where you went to get your product, right? To put in your ice box.
That's exactly right, and I'm about to show you that. When the ice wagon would drive up to the house, they had a sign that they would put in the window that indicated how much ice they wanted. So ever how much they wanted, they would put that on the top, put it in the window, and then the ice man would get the ice and bring it. They'd just leave the back door open. They'd just come into the kitchen, and this is our 1920s kitchen, and then they would put it in the ice box. And this is an old ice box, and so they would put it in here, and so that in that way, and then they could cool the, you know, whatever things. I mean, I tell the kids that come in, I mean, they didn't have like Hot Pockets or something, but they had their butter, their milk, you know, the things. Sometimes they had some soda back in the early 1900s, but not very often. And then they would have, you know, and then it was a very different existence back then. Right. In 1920. We had the wood burning stove, and then we had the churn where you had to churn your butter. And then you would, what they would do is take the butter and put it into a mold such as this, and it has a design on it. And so what they would do is they would put the the butter in and press it in, and then they would take their finger and put it in the hole in the bottom and pop it out, and they'd have a beautiful little piece of butter then for the table.
That's so cool. I got to imagine, Susan, that as much as kids who come to the museum are enthralled, you know, and interested, that you got to have people of a certain age who walk in and go, I remember that, or I remember my grandma and grandpa's icebox, right?
That is the best compliment that we get, because we get people come in all the time and say, this looks just like my grandmother's kitchen. And they tell stories, and that is our favorite thing to do, is to make it alive for them. And so, we tried to pretty much match Southeast Texas. Right. The only difference is they probably didn't have the black and white floor. They had wood floors, but underneath this we have concrete, and so we had to choose another option. Right.
I like that one though. But Susan, before I forget, the Ice House Museum in Silsbee is open to the public, and it's free, right? Actually, we have a small admission. It's only $3 for children and $5 for adults. But we are open Wednesday through Saturday from 10 to 4. Okay. And we would love to see you. There's a lot to see at the Ice House Museum. There really is, and we put the information up on the screen. And thank you, Susan, by the way. We'll talk again in just about Susan Kilcrease, again, with the Ice House Museum there in Silsbee. And if you want to know more, you can go to their Facebook page, and they also have a website as well. If you'll just Google Ice House Museum Silsbee, I promise you it'll be the first thing that pops up.